Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Welcome to the podcast. My name is John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy, and this is episode 060. That's right, our 60th episode. And first of all, thank you so much. The downloads for the podcast have been amazing. I'm just blown away. And appreciate any kind feedback and positive feedback you can leave on iTunes. And be sure and subscribe and tell others about Global Real Estate Schools podcast, where we try to give you information, definitions, test questions, and just some good old tips to help you pass the test. And today, I just want to give you a good tip on passing the exam, because the test is very challenging. And thank goodness the pass rates at Global Real Estate School have been on the rise. But I was talking to a student over the weekend, and I kind of wanted to visit with you about that on the podcast today, because I told this person, I said, you have to study hard for the test, and then you have to study a little bit harder. Does that make sense? I was telling my wife, I said, it's kind of like sometimes I'll show a house, and you go in and you can tell the people clean the house. The beds have blankets thrown over them. They're not straightened. And the carpets, things have been picked up, but the carpets haven't been vacuumed. And I know sometimes people might think, man, we worked really hard to get our house clean for John to show it, but yet it doesn't, it looks clean, but it could look a lot cleaner. Does that make sense? And it's kind of that way with the exam. I think sometimes people think I've studied very hard, so I should be okay to pass the test. And my tip for you is this. You have to study what you think is hard, and then you've got to go about 5 to 10 steps further than that. Does that make sense? In other words, study hard and then study harder. Clean your house and then clean it a little harder if somebody's going to be looking at it. Because sometimes, and I've been that way myself. I mean, I have a full unfinished basement, and sometimes I've gone down there and I've, made it an organized mess, what I jokingly refer to as. And I go in some basements and they're so organized and they're so clean, and everything's put in the proper order. And sometimes I've kind of stacked some boxes here and there and done some different things. And my basement, I think, looks great, but probably to the outside person who has this very well-organized basement, they're probably thinking, holy cow, look at this basement. And so, we've got to clean the basement, and then we've got to clean it again. And maybe a third, fourth, and fifth time to get it to where it really looks sharp. That's what you have to do to pass this test. If you think you've studied hard, you've got to work a little bit harder. You've got to study a little bit harder. And maybe not once or twice, but 3, 4, 5 times harder. You really have to know the material frontwards and backwards. If you go out and run a mile, you're going to have to add an extra mile or 2 miles to that to get in the kind of shape you need to be in to run that marathon. You have to do the same thing for the real estate examination. So today was just a tip for you on the podcast to say, if you really want to pass the examination, you've got to study hard, and then you've got to study a lot harder. Push yourself through. Don't be satisfied with just the normal, because I'm telling you, I think that's the problem. Some of the students, they put a lot of time in, but they're not putting that extra time in. And to pass this examination, you've got to put that extra time in. So I hope this helps you. I hope that if you think, my gosh, John, I've been studying so hard, I just hope you'll tell yourself, but I'm going to study harder. Because John says, you got to study hard, and then you've got to study even harder if you want to pass that test. Well, as always, thank you for listening to the podcast. Don't forget, go on over to Global Real Estate School. We've got some great practice exams and some other tools you can purchase. And I'm getting ready to add a lot of new audio feedback to the practice exams. We're now offering the course in Kansas, South Dakota, Missouri, and we just got approved for the broker's examination in Missouri. So if you're a salesperson in Missouri and you want to get your broker's license, you can do that from globalrealestateschool.com. As always, thanks for listening. I hope you'll go out and just make it a great day. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.